It's Wednesday, February 19. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. The death toll in China from the COVID-19 or coronavirus epidemic jumped to 2,000 on Wednesday after 132 more people died in the Hubei province, the hard-hit epicenter of the outbreak. In its daily update, the province's health commission also reported 1,692 new cases of people infected with the virus. Speaking at a press conference on Tuesday, World Health Organization Director General Dr. Tedros Adhanom gave an update on the epidemic.
Outside China, there are now 804 cases in 24 countries, with 3 deaths. In the past 24 hours, there have been 110 new cases outside China, including 99 on the Diamond Princess cruise ship.
The Director General says so far there are 92 cases in 12 countries outside China of human-to-human transmission of the virus. However, he says the WHO is not yet in a position to do a comparative analysis of the disease spread.
At the moment, we don't have enough data on cases outside China to make a meaningful comparison on the severity of disease or the case fatality rate. We're following up with countries to get more information about what happens about each case and the outcome. However, we have not yet seen the sustained local transmission except in specific circumstances like the Diamond Princess cruise ship.
The government has identified a quarantine facility in Western Jamaica and is on the search for other sites across the island as the novel coronavirus or COVID-19 continues to affect countries across the world. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Christopher Tufton made the announcement on Tuesday during a tour of St. Joseph's Hospital in Kingston, which has been designated a quarantine facility. Following a travel restriction that was placed on China by local authorities, the hospital was last month converted into a quarantine facility for people who have traveled to China and have been exposed to the disease but have not displayed any symptoms. Dr. Tufton said the hospital, which has 14 self-contained rooms and 6 nurses on staff, currently has no one under quarantine, but will remain open as needed as the facility is adequately prepared to deal with issues of health risks. The minister stressed that it must be clearly understood that the hospital is not an isolation facility, which is distinctly different from a quarantine facility. Intervention treatment is coming for children diagnosed with intellectual disability. The Labour and Social Security Ministry has signed an agreement with the Jamaica Association on Intellectual Disabilities that will see 60 children across the parishes of Kingston, St. Andrew and St. Catherine benefiting from the program. The Japanese government has put up $660,000 in funding for the program, and it's being administered by the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB. State Minister in the Social Security Ministry, Xavier Main, and Executive Director of the association, Marilyn McCoy, were at the recent signing in Kingston.
I am particularly delighted that the IDB shares this vision and have partnered with the Jamaica Association on Intellectual Disability to improve access to quality care and educational interventions in a suitable environment for children with intellectual disabilities.
The children who will be selected will be ages 6 years, 6.5 years old, so we are working with the very young. Our parents are critical to the implementation of this project. We are going to be offering our parents ongoing support throughout the duration of the project.
The program is slated to run for 3 years. The Justice Ministry is reporting a 90% success rate in its Restorative Justice referral process. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry, Sansia Bennett-Templer, chalks up the success to the expansion of Restorative Justice offices across the island.
Restorative justice is a tried and proven method with a high success rate in many territories across the world. And even here in Jamaica, we have been having significant success with this method of dispute resolution.
The Permanent Secretary was speaking at the recent 11th Annual Restorative Justice Conference. The program has been instrumental in clearing up the backlog of cases before the courts. The National Works Agency, NWA, is to repair several roadways across western parishes as part of the Hot Mix Patching Program. The project will be done at a cost of $160 million and targets approximately 49,000 square meters of roadway. It's set to commence before the end of this month. Community Relations Officer in the Western Office of the NWA, Janelle Ricketts, says the project is a major effort to patch several corridors across the parishes of Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James and Trelawney. Several roadways targeted include sections of Falmouth to Springvale in Trelawney, Marchmont to Washfoot Gully Main Road in St. James, and the stretch of roadway between Riley and Bushmouth in Hanover, and Goodens River to George's Plain Corridor in Westmoreland. Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond McKenzie says funds will be made available to refurbish the Santa Cruz market in St. Elizabeth in order to better address the needs of vendors and buyers. Minister McKenzie said that Mayor Derek Sangster had asked for funds to begin remedial work after a recent tour of the facility. The minister says he initiated the program that will identify the shortcomings of the market and must have the input of all relevant stakeholders, including vendors. Pressing national matters, that is the given reason for the absence of Prime Minister Andrew Holness from the 31st intersessional meeting of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community, now underway in Barbados. In a release from the office of the Prime Minister on Tuesday, it was stated, quote, "The decision to forego the CARICOM intersessional also comes as the government focuses on preparations for the upcoming budget debates and other national and political matters," end quote. The statement noted that the Prime Minister on Monday presided over the meeting of the Cabinet ahead of the appointment of Senator Matthew Samuda as Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security. Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith is leading Jamaica's delegation to Barbados. Jamaica Defence Force Lance Corporals Greg Tingling and Odell Buckley and Private Arnold Henry will be tried for the May 2010 killing of Keith Clarke at his Kirkland Heights St. Andrew home. Director of Public Prosecutions DPP Paula Llewellyn says the Constitutional Court's ruling on Tuesday is, quote, "a victory for the administration of justice and the public interest," end quote. The DPP says her office must do everything in its power to ensure that the accused have a fair trial, that all their constitutional rights are protected, but the pendulum of justice swings in both directions. The matter had screeched to a halt in April 2018 after the court was provided with certificates of immunity from prosecution to each of the defendants. These certificates were signed in February 2016 by then National Security Minister Peter Bunting. However, Justice Pusey, in the 55-page judgment, ruled against those certificates. And in a follow-up story, additional guards are now posted at Eltham High School in St. Catherine, and 4 handheld metal detectors provided to ease security concerns after armed men entered the compound on Monday. The security breach was triggered by a dispute between 2 students, one of whom left the property and returned with other attackers. Principal Barrington Myton said that the aim was to make staff, students, and visitors feel safer. In this week's Living Healthy, we continue our Heart Month recognition. Too much sugar or added sugar can prove dangerous to your health. The Heart Foundation of Jamaica believes public awareness is key to making healthy choices where sugary drinks are concerned. One study found that for each additional 12-ounce soda children drink each day, or sugary drink, their risk of becoming obese increases by 60%. Adults and children who consume sugary drinks regularly, 1 or 2 cans per day or more, have a 26% greater risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who rarely have such drinks. Now let's hear from an advocate for effective national efforts on healthy lifestyles.
Okay, so I'm here with Ms. Deborah Chen. She is the Executive Director of the Heart Foundation. Thanks so much for agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you for having us and for helping us to get our heart healthy messages out.
Okay, so what is the Heart Foundation all about?
Well, we're about promoting heart health in Jamaica. Unfortunately, heart disease is a leading cause of death in Jamaica, notwithstanding what you may hear on the news, but that is the reality. And we are trying to make a difference in terms of bringing down those rates. Now, there's many risk factors for heart disease, and some of the risk factors for heart disease affect other illnesses also, such as being overweight can also contribute to cancer and diabetes. Lack of physical activity contribute to many illnesses. Smoking of cigarettes causes many illnesses. Uncontrolled hypertension and uncontrolled diabetes is also a risk factor. So there are many risk factors. So what we do is we screen people. Two things. One, we have health education like what we're doing now. Your program is very helpful in this way. Then we go into the communities and we screen people so they can know their numbers, know what their risk is. And if we find a problem, we help them to get that remedied in whatever way is necessary.
When you say know your numbers, we at Blueprint, we like to break it down for the common man. When you say screen, are you talking about tests? And when you say know your numbers, what exactly are you alluding to?
So screening means test for heart disease, blood pressure check. Doesn't hurt, takes a minute. We have the ECG, that is where you get some little suction cups on your chest, like at the Heart Foundation. Doesn't hurt, takes maybe 10 minutes, and that tells us about the electrical activity in your heart, which does give the doctor some information as to how your heart is working. Then we do some blood tests. Now the ones we do for screening are just finger pricks. It's not a big needle in your arm, just a little finger prick. One drop of blood can tell us your blood sugar, one drop could tell us your cholesterol, and so on. We also weigh you, and we measure your height. And that number gives us an indication of if you're the right weight for your height, to tell us if you're overweight and by how much and what needs to be done. Then we look at all of that. We ask you your family history, what medicines you're on, any signs and symptoms you have had recently. And then we make a determination as to what exactly is the next step. Maybe you're fine. Maybe everything comes back perfect and we say, good, keep going, come back in another year. Or we might say, oh, you're a little overweight or very overweight. Why not see one of our nutritionists? Or maybe the heart test comes back abnormal and we might say, okay, you can take this result to your doctor or see our doctor, and they may refer you to a cardiologist, of which we have 5 at the Heart Foundation. So it depends what is found. But the main thing is once you're screened with us, we will stay with you until everything is sorted out one way or the other.
Okay, and we can just walk in from the road and get this done.
Yes, you can just walk into 28 Beachwood Avenue, no appointment necessary. Once we do all the tests, then we take it from there. If you need advanced tests, such as an ultrasound of the heart, called an echocardiogram, for example, then we could make an appointment. But the actual initial screening, no appointment, no letter necessary.
And is it a minimal cost, or is this, kind of uptownish?
No, it's $2,000 for the heart test, the ECG, and that would include the blood pressure and the body mass index. And then there's various prices for the different blood tests, the finger pricks.
What if your doctor refers you to get an advanced test? Can we come to the Heart Foundation, or do we have to go to the hospital?
No, if you get a referral, you can come to the Heart Foundation. Whether you want an echocardiogram, which is the ultrasound of the heart, stress echocardiogram, stress treadmill, or if you have a pacemaker and the pacemaker needs to be evaluated, all of those advanced tests are done at the Heart Foundation.
Let's backstep. What's a pacemaker?
A pacemaker is a little device that sometimes a cardiologist may insert in somebody's heart if they're having a problem with their heartbeat. Sometimes people's electrical activity in the heart is not being conducted properly, and it causes the heart to beat at a slower rate than it should. So in some cases, they put a little device under the skin and it trips in if the heart goes below a certain rate. So when persons have a pacemaker in, they need to be evaluated regularly, and we offer that service. But we also want to give out some information about how to read a label, because even if somebody knows that, let us say, a sugary sweetened beverage is not good for them, but they take up a drink in the supermarket that has a lot of pretty pictures of fruits on it, and they're not really sure is this healthy or not, they would need to know to read the label. And in that case, the thing to read would be the sugar content, the added sugar content.
Living Healthy's Heart Healthy Month feature continues next week. The US dollar is being traded at $141.66, down by 51 cents. And that's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar is being traded at $107.14, down from $107.48, while the British pound sterling is being traded at $184.83, up from $183.75. In regional news, Chairman of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Mayor Mottley, has announced that a fixed single roaming rate will be implemented for the region this year. She was addressing Tuesday's opening of the 31st CARICOM Intersessional Heads of Government meeting, now underway in Bridgetown, Barbados.
The rate will include an amount of local and regional voice calls, and over time, this CARICOM rate will include more services. This is what it means to be family taking decisions. At Castries, we recognize and reflected that the roaming rates within this region are punitive and that in many instances people are bankrupted when they go from country to country because they have no idea as to what these roaming rates will present themselves to be. Once we have reached agreement on the rate and service level, the operators will make the necessary technological changes, and we have full expectation that the new fixed single CARICOM rate can go live in this year, 2020.
Mottley says the roaming rate will include an amount for regional voice calls and overtime, which will include more services. Guyana's Finance Ministry on Monday began publishing monthly reports in the Natural Resources Fund, recording petroleum production and revenues earned. The publication covers the month of December 2019, in which 427,282 barrels of oil were produced. Newsroom's Guyana's Pbcjj reports.
The report on petroleum production and revenues was released by the Ministry of Finance on Monday. In an introduction to the report, the ministry said the regular publication of the report will allow for greater transparency in this new sector of the economy, ensuring that the public is fully aware of the amount of petroleum being produced and the revenues being generated. Such transparency is important given the magnitude of revenues that will be generated from this resource. Guyana began producing oil from its Liza Phase 1 project on the Stabroek Block on December 20, 2019. The country did not earn any revenue in the first month of production, as the ministry said the volume available for lifting, which was 163,673 barrels, was less than the standard cargo size of 1 million barrels. As such, all petroleum produced in December was allocated to profit oil, of which the government will be entitled to half. Production of oil was reported to be 427,282 barrels for December 2019. Of the total, 3,202 barrels were used for facility fill, which includes the oil that remains in various piping before the cargo tanks. It is estimated that an additional 1,020 barrels will remain in the hose and piping between cargo tanks and the offloading hose point at the completion of the first lift. A further 282,000 barrels of oil produced in December 2019 was used for ballast and cargo tanks. These operational volumes will remain on the FPSO facility and in the piping until production from Liza Destiny has ceased, the ministry's report explained. The combined entitlement of the contractors at the end of December 2019 was 71,040 barrels of oil. According to the report, the government will receive its 2% royalty in cash from the contractor's share of profit oil days after the end of the first quarter of 2020. Revenues in the Natural Resources Fund is being kept at the New York Federal Reserve Bank. The act governing the fund stipulates that the government should publish several reports, including those from the Public Accountability and Oversight, Macroeconomic and Investment Committees, reports on withdrawals from the NRF to be included in the annual budget proposals, annual reports from the NRF including audited financial statements, and quarterly and monthly reports of the fund. Pbcjj, Newsroom.
Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Agriculture, Land and Fisheries, Clarence Rambarat, is raising concerns about the slow pace of processing agricultural land files in the Trinidad Republic. We get the details in this TTT News report.
Speaking at a lease letter distribution ceremony today, Tuesday, the minister even made reference to the quick response to his letter by the Land Management Division on the construction of a stage in the sea by a party promoter for an upcoming FAT. He said he was surprised by the speedy response to his letter.
You could respond in 2 days. Then for an agriculture parcel of land, you should be able to respond in a day. Because nothing is more important than the welfare of the citizens of this country in relation to being able to have access to local food. And if you can give priority to a FET taking place in the sea, then you should give more priority to food growing on the land.
Approximately 40 lease letters were distributed to recipients from northeast Trinidad. The letters convey Cabinet's approval to grant farmers standard agricultural or residential leases for an initial period of 30 years. Minister Rambarat said some farmers sometimes wait up to 30 years to receive their leases.
All I have said is have a heart. People are waiting for decades. They're dealing with serious family issues. People are dying. In the middle of a transaction, people die. The family have to go back. They have to do probate. They have to do letters of administration. They have to restart. A lot of times, people call you and tell you they've lost your documents.
In sports, we begin with athletics. Day one of a two-day Digital Central Championships at GC Foster College of Physical Education and Sport left St. Jago High as leaders in both the boys and girls sections. Tuesday's meeting closed with 9 girls finals. The top 5 are St. Jago on 87 points, defending champions Edwin Island High 78.5 points, Heidel High 48, Homewood Technical 42, and Veer Technical 28.50. St. Jago, the defending boys champions, are runaway leaders at 10 finals with 101 points. Closing out the top 5 are Edwin Island 41, Bridgeport 34, Knox College 23, and Jonathan Grant 22. In football, reigning Red Stripe Premier League champions Portmore United will face Mexican club Cruz Azul in the first leg of their CONCACAF Champions League round of 16 on Wednesday night at the National Stadium, starting at 8. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.